I know you're here, Manoj, but I can't see ya.
Hey Neil.
Hey, Cecile,
What?
right now.
Okay. What's going on?
Not too much. Oh, I should turn this. I'm having trouble streaming this to Facebook for some reason.
Okay.
I'm just recording it. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, and it could be us for a little bit. The last couple sessions, people have taken a while to get on,
Okay.
which is fine. Did you get a chance to read the chapter?
No, that's why I asked you.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. One thing I wanted to show you, since we have a minute, and this would be good for other people too who see this video later,
Okay.
is if you go, yeah, I'm having trouble, like, Facebook is going really slow. Is Facebook going slow for you?
I haven't been on it recently,
Okay.
but just in general, internet, it was hard for me to get on other sites.
Oh, okay.
It's weird. Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. In the Hummingbird Society group, if you go to files, in the files section of the group, there is the PDF of the Prosperous Coach.
Oh, like the actual book.
Yeah, the whole book.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yes. So
Okay.
obviously I would be like, buy the book anyway, but as a research tool,
Yes.
it's uh it's here for you. Um
It's amazing.
Maybe since we're kind of waiting for some people to show up, um maybe we should just talk a little bit about this book because we've been like 37 sessions into this book.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot has happened.
Yes.
A lot has developed from many different people have come and gone, have had a taste, and then moved on to other things.
Okay.
And this book is kind of one of the defining books in, well, just kind of like what it says, like in being a prosperous coach.
Okay.
Um, and then we have kind of, all right, like we have kind of established this other kind of like overarching umbrella, which is the prosperous person.
Mm.
So when I started reading this book, I found and reading it with my coach, and basically what I started doing with this book when I first read it was I considered it to be like a daily sales meeting.
Okay.
So every day I would like read a chapter of the book, take notes, and try to apply the ideas. And I've read the book a few times now, um, and it's kind of soaked it in.
Okay.
And what I found from it was that it wasn't just about coaching. Like it could be kind of extrapolated into every area of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because in the simplest terms, a lot of sales techniques these days are very general. It's like a generalization. Like how many people can I get through a funnel? How many
Mm-hmm.
people can I reach with my ads? Like the more people, the better, right? The more likes, the more engagement, the more click-throughs. Those are the metrics that we generally use to drive the idea of sales.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of get enough people through the filter, then you're going to make your way down the filter, and eventually you're going to kind of get the product.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but this method is the exact opposite of that.
Okay.
Like, right? So it's very intriguing. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of the main principles of it are deep listening and and being with one person at a time.
Mm.
So you're kind of like, how do I serve this individual person? And oh, here's Aiden. Nice. This might be great for Aiden too.
Okay.
Uh, hey, Aiden. Aiden sometimes is off camera, which is cool too. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah, so kind of the idea of hey, Aiden
I didn't.
Minoj, meet Aiden. Aiden
Hello.
is a violinist, music teacher, performer, and coach as well.
Awesome.
Yes, indeed.
Uh,
Thanks for the excellent introduction.
Thank you. Minoj is a what I would call a powerful change maker, and he kind of his focus is the finance industry.
Hmm.
So
Right
it's
on.
yeah, it's very powerful person to have here on this call.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you, Neil.
I'm unfortunately I'm a little bit double booked, so I can only be here for about 20 minutes. But I wanted to at least make the commitment because Devin is like, "Come on, man, show up, do it." And I'm like, all right, I have 20 minutes. I will do that." So
Nice, absolutely. Even 20 minutes is great.
Mm.
Just checking in and being part of the vibe is hopefully will kind of instigate some inspiration or some thought.
yeah, and I haven't read this specific one, but just the little blurb, the description that you gave, I was like, "Oh man, yes, that does sound like something I want to talk about or hear about, just listen about."
Beautiful. Hopefully we have time for both here. Um, you can't see Devin here because he's off camera, but Devin is an excellent coach. Devin, Devin meet Minoj. Devin is also what I have described as kind of the unsung right hand man of the Prosperous coach sessions. He's brought tons of people into the fold, and well, he's just dynamite. Speaks a lot of truth and gold into every session. Uh, okay, so because especially since Aiden is on limited time here, and I can respect that, let's jump into this chapter and see who else kind of shows up. I'm also going to just see if I can try and get this to live stream. It did not want to. No, it just doesn't want to for some reason. Okay, so I think that this chapter, well, I say this literally about every chapter, but it's incredible. Uh, and I think that, so Manoj and I were kind of talking about, I was kind of giving Manoj an idea of what we're doing here and how it's kind of maybe not contrary is maybe not the right word, but it's a different path than is what typical sales techniques are about. I would kind of say typical sales techniques or enrollment techniques are kind of like a generalization, bring as many people in, filter them out, kind of work with metrics of how much rather than and then the prosperous coach or the prosperous person formula is more specific. So rather than general filters and trying to kind of net as many fish as possible, you're really working on um, catching people into your world who excite you and that you want to work with and build relationships with and create sustainable interactions and kind of financial commitments with. So, which I think is great. Like Manoj, Aiden, myself, Devin, everyone else who comes through here, a lot of people we work do a lot of one-to-one work. Um, and really, you're always doing one-to-one work, even if you think you're working with many people, you're really working with one person. So this chapter starts off with a bang. So push past the fear and get closer. Selling is hard when we fear other people. So you can't get more true than that. Coaching, coaching must become fearless to succeed in big ways. Coaching is all about courage and creativity. You can't skip that. If you feel distant from your prospect, you won't sign them as a client. When you fear them, you cannot be direct. You have to think of how to best hint at your intentions or throw shallow, needy, pitiable info at them. Coaching is not about information. It is about transformation. Change someone's life and they will hire you. All other activities are weak-kneed and wimpy and will have you quit this profession in absolute despair. Client enrollment becomes more fun and effective the closer we get to the other person. One way to get closer is to put yourself in their place and give them the level of truth you would want. Another way to get closer is to ask them all the things you wonder about them, such as why they have not yet achieved what they say they want to achieve. So this is heavy duty chapter. It's heavy because I think it's one of those things that is hardest for us to admit to, which is that having a conversation is probably one of the hardest things you can do as a person, especially to have a conversation which goes directly at the things you feel would serve that person the best. You know, asking tough questions and then wanting information that really personalizes your relationship with them. That kind of breaks the ice, you know. Icebreakers are the hardest things to do. And so for myself in this, and I definitely want to try to throw out some prompts there or hear other people's opinions, but this one sentence, this paragraph here, I think is very relatable in many industries. If you feel distant from your prospect, you won't sign them as a client. It's like, okay, well, that's super definitive. You know, he's not saying you might sign them or you have less of a chance of signing them or something. It's just like you're flat out not going to do it. When you fear them, you cannot be direct. And then he kind of goes on to say, you have to think of how to best hint at your intentions or throw shallow, needy, pitiable info at them. So when you can't be direct, you have to be indirect. And you have to use indirect ways to speak to them. And then it's like we've talked about in other chapters, which is like don't sell them on the information, sell them on the experience. Right? So just chucking a bunch of info at them is real. So if you kind of invert this situation, once you start talking about information, like what's in the program or, you know, what's good about what you're selling them or how this is going to be useful in their lives, it might be good to realize that that's when you're actually coming from your own personal fear. You stepped into a place of like, oh man, I'm too afraid to be like, so why aren't you famous? Or like, why don't you have your finance? Like, why don't you have savings together? Or like, you know, why do you not have a coach? Or like asking these questions that really put people on the spot. You know, like, what does working together look like to you? Like, you know what I mean? Questions like, and that works in any industry. Like for Minot, it's like, if you were to save money, you know, what would that look like to you? What would saving look like to you? Well, so now it's not about what you can give them, but it's about what are they doing? Who are you? Why are you here? What do you want? So that's kind of my perspective on it. And like Minoj, you're new to this too, and also just to kind of put this forward again, this is kind of like a round table process. So this is not a process where I'm an authority and where this is like a webinar. So, and you don't need to have read the book or the chapter. This is about kind of what does this spark in you? What does this make you want to explore? Yeah, I ate it. And let's do the hand thing, just so Manoj is aware. I don't know if you can find the hand thing, but
yeah, it's automatic if you actually just raise your hand long enough.
Oh, really?
Zoom will detect it sometimes. Yeah,
Okay.
here we go. Now it's
Oh, nice. Beautiful. Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah. It was funny because if you do something like this or whatever, like it'll start to
Oh,
think that
yes.
you're trying to do it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah. Well, this just brings up like I haven't had new conversations in a while, which is shortcoming for me. Devin knows that. I'm getting on it. We will. It's around the corner. But there was a time about it was 3 months ago. Yeah, it was over the summer. My dad is an internet marketing experienced guy. He works with architects. Like around 2012, 2013, he had lost his position as a reseller of an architectural program and had to switch to online sales stuff. And he took a lot of courses and put himself out there. And I think he was just kind of on at the beginning of the wave of kind of this new mode of being. Zoom didn't really exist at that point. So anyway, so my dad has perspective on that. Why did I bring him up? Because over the summer he was like, look, I have a big mailing list. Like, why don't we write something that's talking about your offering and just kind of say, like, hey, if this resonates with you, and also speaking from his place of authority, he was kind of like, hey, as a guy who, as a consultant, I've helped people in my field, and my son is stepping into that, and I wanted to share that with you. Proud father moment, whatever. So got a few really great responses from people who were interested in what I had to offer, and I was, kind of trying to start conversations with them. Simultaneously, we needed our year-old solar panels cleaned, and so we found someone on Nextdoor. A young guy came over, and he happened to be a musician. Like, music was his passion, and like he had expressed this in a message to my dad, and so my dad was like, you should talk to this kid. And so I had a great little initial interaction with that guy, and then scheduled a call with him after I went back to Ireland. I'm in California right now, where my family lives. And so I don't know, really like was taking advantage of just the organic kind of chemistry of meeting people in that moment. And what was so interesting is this was before I'd really heard Devin had introduced me to the Prosperous coach. I was still like, oh, okay, so when I talk to a person, I really need to have a script, and I need like to keep it to 30 minutes, and I need to really just like try to like, I mean, permission to lead is a great thing, but it was this kind of alternate mentality of like, I'm going to subtly manipulate your perceptions of my authority and get you to want to buy in a 30-minute time slot kind of thing. And I just like was not comfortable with that. I wasn't doing that. And so I had this conversation, and we sat for 2 hours and talked. And then fucking first chapter of Prosperous Coach, it came up. It was like, one of them said, I seldom sit for less than 2 hours. I am there fully present to have a conversation with this person. So I actually did that. And that's just like naturally how things are. I'm working at a pub, getting paid very little in Ireland, but my manager has been like, you're not really good on the crazy nights. You're really good at the interpersonal, like, quiet moments. Like, you want to actually talk to everyone there. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, she's like, yeah, I see that as your strength. I'm like, okay, cool. So it kind of comes naturally to me, and it's just some subtle nips and tucks and stuff. But I have been thinking about that fellow that I talked to a few months back. And what's interesting is like they seem to be these conversations where the person, I've asked enough questions, there's been enough sharing, we get to a pretty good sense of rapport. There's not too much distance, and they have expressed their fears. And usually it's like, financially they're not super well off. The next guy I had a conversation with was actually an architect that my dad had met specifically in a presentation that he had done in person, and the guy was on his mailing list, and then saw the email, and he was like, when the email came in, he was like, oh, it was perfect timing. And then he was on the call with me, and he was saying like, I have this talent that's just going to waste and stuff. And it was like, I could not put these words into someone's mouth. Like, he was just completely speaking to his pain points and like sharing them. And if anything, I just didn't feel maybe strong enough to maybe step into like leading in that moment. But I was just like, I've just had two really, really good conversations with people who there's good rapport, and they feel like kind of ideal clients. If somehow financially they were ready to go. I mean, like literally the guy said, look, I'm like between jobs and I'm waiting on some unemployment thing, but like as soon as that comes in, it would like, I'm not asking for you to lower your rate. Like, I'll be in touch, but he didn't get back to me. So I'm like, the follow-up is the thing that I'm a little like, that's probably where the fear is for me. It's just the like, oh, we had such a good rapport there, but I don't want to be needy like the other chapters, so yeah, I guess I'm just kind of sitting with that question of like, I'm back here on West Coast time. These are two people that are in California, and I want to reach out to them from a place of like connection and not like, hey, let me sell you again or whatever. So I'm just I'm contemplating that because I need to start more conversations of that quality. But yeah, like it does seem to come naturally to me that I can hold space at least for someone to talk about what's important to them. And these pointed questions, I think when I get myself kind of pumped up, I can be like, yeah, all right, what's that? Tell me more. Like, I want to know. So sometimes I'm feeling insecure about myself, and I don't feel like I'm ready to kind of make those bold moves with them. But other times it's just like, yeah, this is the time. Like, I know that this person would benefit from me being direct and asking those powerful questions. So.
That's awesome, Aiden. I love how directly you spoke to those things, and what it makes me think of is if you weren't here for the last session, I could briefly touch on it here. And if you checked out that just the last video we did, it's like when you do use email, do this is the name of the chapter.
Oh, okay. I want to review that last one.
Yeah, and that speaks right to what you're talking about, where like, how do you follow up? What's the best way to follow up? How do you do it in a way that's not needy? It sounds like what you're looking to do is authentically follow up with the person. Like you're not following up because you're trying to siphon cash from them. It sounds like there really was something palpable.
Yeah, one of them had like two specific songs that he was like working on, and one of them was like a wedding was coming up, and he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to perform it for that. And I do feel like the nice follow up thing to do was like, hey, did you get to do your song? How did that go?
I think that's phenomenal. And then do you remember, I think that's a great touch point. And also if you are able to think within that kind of matrix about how to serve them in that, like, hey, you said that I have this, like, was it performance anxiety or were they worried about composing the song or?
I think the song was a little unfinished or something, and maybe a little bit of performance anxiety. I'm not sure.
Like maybe
one of his hangups was just like he was traveling from California to Texas, and I very quickly was like, he's like, and I won't be able to have my guitar, and I'm like, music shops will do a short-term rental for you, like you could do that. It was in Austin. I was like, dude, you're going to the music capital of the self-proclaimed music capital of the world or whatever, and it's like, just get a guitar, you go play at your sister's wedding, like do it. So
maybe it's just as a I don't know if you're looking for suggestions, but that sounds like sounds like you've got the perfect reach out. Like,
I know, you're
exactly
right.
Where you need to be.
Yeah, I was kind of talking about two different people. The other one that I sat with for 2 hours was there was just a lot more there to go back into, and I didn't record the call like I should have. So maybe I did. I don't know. I'll check. But yeah, the email thing. I'll check on the last recording.
Cool. Yeah, I think it will be right up your alley. That one, and I think we got through both of them because there's two that we did. We did like why not to use. Sometimes the best email is no email, and then we also did when you do use email, do this, and both of them are kind of like great for narrowing down why you would use email, and then like all the reasons why you do not use email.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was the perspective that I got from the Prosperous coach up front. Was just like, ooh, don't do the email thing. Don't try and sell them on the email. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. They're too needy. So I've been like, oh, what do I do? Like, do I send them a postcard? Like, do I do the skywriting?
Yeah, throw like some smoke signals or something.
Hey, what's up? Written in the sky.
And you know, we this is I'm personally okay with unpacking this because I feel like the two really connect. Uh, because in my opinion, the reason why he says don't use email is because it's one of those situations where it's playing into your own feelings of distance. You're like, oh, I already feel distant from the client, so what I'll do is further distance myself by writing a big email and then it not working out and being able to be like, oh, well, that was never going to work anyways, because it's more about just kind of getting into this world of generalizations and information and trying to convince someone of something. So, like, in my feeling, the Prosperous coach is always trying to navigate you away from that particular thing where you get in your own way of being like, I'm too afraid to just call them and have a conversation. So like I'm going to use all these other skills I have to get in my own get in my own way. I'm going to use these hyper effective tools to make sure I don't close the sale, you know. But if you do know that fact, and that's how you can get in your way, because conversation is such a difficult thing to do to really be like, hey, let's just have a spontaneous, improvised conversation that comes from my value set, you know.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Well, it's so interesting because there was another person who responded to my dad's email and was like really interested, but just like I no matter how many times I asked, wouldn't get on a phone call with me, and I was just so. And I could tell that there were some hangups like, oh, I'm not really a musician, or like it was like literally this guy like had like another life and when he was a youth in the Middle East and he had like toured performing at a young age, and now he lives in LA, and does like green architecture stuff, and like he was saying like, yeah, I would really love to get back into my music. I have these songs, I have these poems, and I really want. And this is what he's saying in the email, and but I'm too busy and this and that, and it's just like, let's talk on the phone so we can like connect. And I was like, what would this date be good? Would this date be good? And it was like it was a long like back. I just kept like week after week, like, hey, are you available this week? You want to talk this week? And then I was just like, okay, now this is feeling a bit needy. Like I'm just gonna leave it for a while. But every time he did respond, it was always with like a sort of like, I do want to go there, but I'm not ready. I do want to go there, I'm not ready. So I was like, I can only talk to this person on email right now, and I am trying to get them to have a chat with me in person. And I kept referring to it as a chat, like really just not like just trying to diffuse it as a selling technique, just like, hey, I would like to meet you in person, that kind of thing. So
totally. You know what that makes me think of, and it's been like a compelling metaphor for myself that I've been coming back to over and over again is that there's like these different stages and kind of growing um your client base or your finances or your network or your relationships. And like I use the orchard as a metaphor, like you plant the seeds, the tree grows, the tree even bears fruit. And like a place I'm finding that on myself where I fall down and where I've seen lots of other entrepreneurs fall down is like the fruit is on the tree and you're like, oh fuck yeah. And you're like, that's where you start to celebrate. And it's the wrong time to celebrate because you might like try to pick the fruit before it's too ripe. I mean, before it's ripe. Um, so it's actually really good to be able to see that you've got this orchard, you've got these different potential clients, this potential fruit, this harvest is coming, or it appears to be coming at least. Um, and it's just not quite ripe yet. And like when it's really is ripe, it's just gonna come off. You're not gonna have to like, come on, get off.
I appreciate that. I mean, I feel that way with Devin. Like Devin reached out to me like a year before. I was like, I want to work with Devin. It was just like we were just kind of connected, and I was ripening. So,
Right? And that's a perfect, I'm sure that Devin can speak to this fully. It's like that's kind of like the cascading effect of being a coach or being a salesperson, like being able to see how you get sold on things or how you get enrolled in things and the
yeah.
time it takes.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of Indepreneur. They're kind of a music marketing company, Indepreneur, independent entrepreneur, musical people. Circa is the name of the guy who's running the company. His whole thing was like, okay, we're gonna run Facebook ads, but like you need to understand what he called the buddy system, which was essentially having a relationship with the people that you're selling to. So you invite them in and you educate them, and it's like you give a lot before you ask for anything in return. But I just like that it's essentially the same, sale internet marketing ideology that's out there everywhere, but he branded it in this particular way and is selling it to musicians specifically. And I just like that he named it the buddy system because it just really made it clear that and his whole joke analogy was just like, you don't meet someone and then get down on your knees and propose. Like, you don't shake hands, you go from shaking hands to wanting to sleep with them. Like, it's a really like, you get to know them. There's the first touch, the second touch, third touch, whatever it is. So, become friends with the person before you, and maybe that's not exactly the right wording, but I just think that, make them like, want you to be in their life because you're just offering your presence. Yeah.
So true, man. It sounds like you got it. Sounds like you've got it nailed. It's like and I've seen that in myself in everyone that patience is like the biggest hurdle or obstacle is like
Patience. Yeah.
the patience it takes to get close to someone, like the patience it takes to make a meaningful connection, the patience it takes to like create your business. It's like hella amount of patience and like continuing to just be like, no, what I'm doing is effective. It is effective. It's just taking time, like anything that's good takes time.
Yeah.
Layla, your
Yeah.
camera is off, just like.
I'm gonna pop off because I signed up for an Ableton Live performance workshop with a fellow in Ireland, and it's a masterclass, and there's only 2 of us signed up. So I'm gonna go get a semi-private masterclass on Ableton Live. So
That's killer.
Thank you so much for letting me just jump on for a short time, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, come back again. See you soon. Layla. Did you check out this chat? Do you want me to review the chapter, or do you just want to speak on what he was saying, or?
Just loved how you said patience. Hi, Manoj. And hi, Manoj. And hi, Devin. I just loved how you said patience, but if you want to give me maybe context here, I'll put my mute because I'm doing laundry.
Yeah, we're doing this. I'll just share it again. I'm sure it's a good idea. We're doing this chapter, push past the fear and get closer.
That's super great. This is perfect then.
Yeah, right? You're a super fast reader, but the points that really stuck out to me was selling is hard when you fear other people, right?
Yeah.
If you feel distant from your prospect, pretty much distant in any sense, you're not going to sign them. Just like, hard and fast rule. And if you fear them, you're going to try and find indirect ways of signaling your intentions or just throwing information at them, And in a lot of the industries that we're in, even if they don't appear to be so, it's not about information, it's about transformation. And I know I use these like really ridiculous metaphors, but in my opinion, if you sell someone a washing machine, you're transforming their life. So like, it really comes down to anything that you're doing that is going to add value to their lives is transforming their lives. So they need to know about that more than they need to know about the information. Um, and this is a really killer line. Client enrollment becomes more fun and effective, more fun and effective the closer we get to the client. So there's a lot. This chapter almost seems pretty fierce, but it's also kind of like, it's like it comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. Yeah. Starts off in like, you're fucked if you do things from fear, but if you do things from love and a desire to know the people around you, you're going to, it's going to be a hell of a lot more fun. So
I
yeah,
love that.
with that being said, did you want to weigh in on the patience part or?
Yeah, that's very it aligns with what I was going to share. I just got off this call with a lady who I have been let's see, it's been I think almost 2 months of in my perception of like, she's almost a client and then she's not a client, and then she's almost a client and then she's not a client. And like I'll get like one step closer and then boom, I'll get the message. It's like, well, my husband doesn't, which is fine, which like I took, that's fine. And the patience piece, like bang on, Neil, because and in terms of how this could relate to this chapter, it's like not just patience in general, like I'm just going to be a patient person as this person keeps on seemingly rejecting my service over and over again, trusting though that she hasn't quite rejected it. So there must be something there that's like, what's making it not click for her. And in this case, I have basically recreated my birth service and my traditional birth work to take on apprentices because I've been getting asked to teach. And I didn't want to do a classic talking head teaching thing. So I created this offering. I already have one lady doing it, and I've got two more. And this is one of those other two, where it's about a year. And it's not only downloading to them all of the wisdom and knowledge that I come at birth with, but it's also basically a transformative coaching year-long journey, where like we're gonna freaking go through the depths in the same way that you said, Neil, like that cheesy line that you just said. What was that cheesy thing you just said?
About the washing machine?
Yeah, like
I know. I try to use the
you
most
said a
basic
great,
and drab metaphors because
yeah. For anyone watching, just go back 2 minutes and get that cheesy coaching line. Whatever you just did was like a heart, but actually in reality, I do believe that most of what's missing from today is these pieces of where we create that transformative experience, whether it's the washing machine or the birth work or the guy behind the A&W counter. Like, why not? Like, and so the patience piece with this lady today, literally, like, that's why I was late, because we were finishing up this call between us. And I realized that she was just trying to get to know me.
Mhm.
And she said the one thing that made me like realize that was, she was like, my husband says the amount that you're asking for, so finances, right? The amount that you're asking for and what you're offering, he doesn't trust it. And he doesn't know who you are. And he says, what about doing something smaller? And the guy's fear was something like, what if she dies tomorrow and you've paid her? Which I laughed at. I'm like, it was in that moment that I realized the woman is actually ready. Her husband is not. Her husband has no idea who I am. And apparently I hadn't made who I am, my clarity, I hadn't done that fearlessly with this woman enough for her to be able to look at her husband and go, this is who this woman is. This is what she's about. Trust me, babe, this is the best decision ever. And for him to be like, okay, because I don't think that obviously not everybody that we bring in as a potential client is a woman with a husband. I get that. In my work, it's actually quite common because I'm working with women primarily, and a lot of them have husbands, and a lot of husbands are the ones primarily financing their lives in a lot of cases. I'm not saying that we don't also all have our own jobs, but like men are still there being like, what are we doing with money this month, you know? So there's that in my personal work. But I do think it's worth it to say that this piece about connection and patiently, you know, fearlessly getting to know someone, that person has people that they're going to talk to about the decisions they make in their lives, whether it's their husband or their sister or their friend. They have people. And if they can't get from their people an acknowledgement that their idea is good, not only good, but that you, the provider, is like a trustworthy source of product A or service B, you know, they're not going to say yes. They're not going to do it because their people are going to look at them and go, are you sure about this? I don't know about this. Who is this lady? Who is this guy? Like, who is this person just telling you to, you know? So I really find that to be incredibly wise, patience piece. And then in terms of this chapter, so true. And it's more than just what you create with your client for you and them. It's how are you creating yourselves for them as they share you with other people, with the people who matter the most to them when they're making decisions. I think that's really important. So, yeah.
I think that that's massively important. And connects with me in so many ways, you know. The patience part, the getting closer part, kind of the being vulnerable, being open, being personable, letting other people get to know you, like not being like this cardboard cutout expert authority, you know what I mean? But being a personable, someone they can actually get a grip on, like you're an actual human being. Especially in a world that's got lots of like, as AI and technology becomes like firmly planted in our lives, even knowing you're a human being, like it could be a thing. Are you a deep fake kind of thing? Like, what exactly is going on here? So which includes your faults, which includes your shortcomings, which includes the things you're working on to get better at, like how you're improving and moving forward in the industry yourself. How your level of flexibility. And I would definitely say even and I hope that you're okay with this, Layla, but I'm just gonna when I started working with Nick, you were kind of like, do you really need a coach? Like you're so powerful yourself and you're so good at doing things yourself, you know what I mean? Like there was there was criticism from the people around me, you know, and there wasn't a criticism in terms of like you suck and you make bad decisions in life. It was actually the opposite. It was like you make such good decisions yourself. Why would you possibly need someone else to help you? Why would you need someone to create something for you? You know, like
Who is that? And who
yeah,
is
totally. Who is this person? And like, are they going to treat you well, or are they going to use your time efficiently? Like, are they going to use your money efficiently? And right, so there's definitely going to be this critique from the people around you who want to protect and support you and be, you know, part of your kind of like flight path together. So being able to be, it's like Manoj and I had talked about, and like you're right about. And I find this on the other side, working with male clients who have girlfriends or wives, you know what I mean? Like when a person is deeply enrolled in their belief system, when you as the coach truly believe in what you do and you're able to transfer that to the other person, energetically through, and then the words and information come past that, that energy is going to go to the other people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure that the reasons why you weren't sure about Nick was because I wasn't sure. And it wasn't until I was like, no, I made my decision. I'm doing this shit. I'm going forward with it. Then the world changed around me and the people modified their behaviors and began to support, Now you're in the coaching musicians group and you talk to Nick and you're going to come to the Domino tomorrow. You know what I mean? So like there's been a massive transformation because of how deeply enrolled in Nick's vision he is, which enrolled me in my vision, which enrolls you in your vision. You're here on this fucking call, right? So like,
And
there,
and the faults too, like I think that's really important, just to pull that little piece out that you said too, because like when you get to know someone, like even in the example of Nick or anyone, like when you're, or if it's me actually as like the person seeking the service, or it's my love who is like got my back looking out for what service I'm buying, when if you're trying to create that fearless connection with someone where you are a real person and you're letting them get to know you, you get your faults on the freaking table. Like one of the things the woman had said to me was, my hubby doesn't understand the difference between the 3-month offering and the year offering. And he thinks you should just be recording up a 3-month talking head video course. I said, you know what? I am so sorry that I wasn't clear about the difference. And guess what? My man actually agrees with your hubby. He thinks I should make a 12. So in displaying and revealing the faults or the mistakes or the shit,
5D spot. So yeah.
I reveal that there's actually someone in my corner too. Just so he just so just so he knows we're all human here. Look at us doing our things with our people supporting us. So admitting faults can automatically create more connection because you'll reveal so much more about you.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Especially when you're speaking, like how you said, like you reveal who's in your corner, the processes that you're going through, how you're clarifying and structuring things, how you're moving ahead with the things you're clarifying and structuring, right? Apologizing for the way you fall down, the cracks in your systems, how you're filling those cracks in the system up. It shows progression, right? It shows that in a year from now, you're going to be so much more powerful and that this person's actually getting in on the ground floor for a really fantastic price because you're moving forward with what you're doing. You know what I mean? And you're taking effective criticism and applying what you're learning. Like you're becoming unstoppable and you want them to do the same thing. It's like one of those things too about like indirect teaching. Like there's what we teach. It's like Gary Vee says, like, don't listen to what I say, look at what I do. You know what I mean? Like what he's saying is part of his platform and what he's broadcasting. But what he's doing is what the real creators need to be looking at. Because the speaking is like the product. It's not the mechanisms and the structure and the process and the actions. It's the thing that his clientele is going to grab onto. And I love what you're saying there too, Layla, about the faults and stuff, because I think that what you're speaking there is an even bigger thing that kind of happens, I find, in entrepreneurship, in any situation, not just entrepreneurship, which is we are afraid that if we aren't perfect, we're not going to survive. And that's and I swear that creeps in all the time. You got to like keep batting down the hatches so that shit doesn't leak in. Because it's going to find some way to get in there. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, okay, I finally did all the imperfect things perfectly. So now I can start working on perfecting all the, like it just turns into this ball of shit. It's always there. Like it's always there. Because we kind of feel that because being imperfect is exhausting. Um, unless you're able to somehow inject it with some fun, which is, I think, when you can commiserate with other people, even if you're their coach. Like Nick and I laughed about how he fucked up some of the scheduling. Where I was like, yeah, we've worked for 30 weeks together, and he's talking about how, like, going forward, I should really make sure I have, my clients on specific days, make sure my agreements are strong with them so they always know they have a spot. He's like, but I'm also well aware that I fucked it up with you a couple of times, so like this is not a foolproof system. Things come up, things happen, things get in the way, but we're 30 sessions deep, you know what I mean? So we can laugh about those hiccups and bumps in the road, and it humanizes the process and helps me to see what could happen for me in my own business and prepare for it, right? So that's like we're getting closer to each other, and through that process of getting closer and talking about those ways things have fallen apart or not fully connected, he's able to give me a deeper truth about being an entrepreneur and actually mentoring and coaching me on something that's made me feel like it was strengthening my business. Just the conversation we were having felt like it was strengthening my business. I was like, this conversation itself is not a conversation I could have 20 sessions ago. I wouldn't have had enough clientele. I wouldn't have been struggling with the schedule. I wouldn't be dealing with the metrics I'm dealing with. So it was a super helpful to have him kind of be a human for a second there. So now this is I want to just point at something else. If people have something else to say, we cannot do this one right away. But another way to get closer is to ask them all the things you wonder about them. So that that requires a certain level of curiosity about the people who you're meeting, and being able to, like, actually wondering about other people. You know what I mean? Like, even something as simple as, like, for what Layla was saying, like with this person being like, so, like, I wonder what this like learning this, doing this birth training would do for you. Like, what do you think that birth training would do for you in your life? Like, I wonder where you see yourself in 5 years from learning this birthing training, you know? Or, like, I wonder, you know, I wonder about how you spoke with your husband about it. Like, what was the communication like? What were the things you talked about? Like those kind of subliminal questions that come up. Like, I wonder why you haven't had. I wonder why you don't have a financial plan yet, or like, I wonder why. I wonder what you expect to get out of a financial plan. Like, and it actually be real, like, questions, not a question you got from a script, but a question you're actually drawing from that person, which requires, like, kind of, or like even asking yourself, like, I wonder what it would be like for me to work with you. Like, saying that to a client, because it draws out questions that are, yeah, who knows?
I wonder what it would be like if I spoke on this call.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love that. I love that.
This whole time I'm just like, there's so many things that are coming up for me. I'm like, I know it'll be very powerful to share, but like, it's my first time here. I don't know Devin, I didn't know Aiden, and I'm like, oh, like, where do I go? Anyways, I just want to say hi. Devin. Hi, Layla. And Neil, just very privileged and super pumped to be on this call. So let's start with that. Um, but yeah, so wonder for me, I think that breaks the fear barrier the most, I think, because when you meet someone and to just start bridging that connection, number one thing, it's just asking questions, right? And questions come from that wonder place. And I find for me and my confidence, self-esteem, right, and communication is bridging, just letting, like as I'm doing now, right, just letting that go is asking questions. And so that was the question I started off with, just entering this call. So wonder, I think, is a very powerful place to start with, curiosity, and to really step into it and ask questions to start that connection process. If you're starting cold or even wherever you're starting, just more questions and more possibilities of um, things that you haven't thought about, and start with a question and that wonder place.
I love that. And I love how you use that. That's so powerful, Manoj. Um, Especially using wonder to break the ice for yourself in the call. Like talk about it like happening in the moment. That's like and then using it as its own. You're like, that was like some meta shit right there. Like I'm gonna use wonder to talk about wonder because wonder is so effective for moving things out of the way. So I'm gonna show you by doing it right now. Yeah,
There's
have I not feared? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Devin, I love that, you know? Um, go ahead. Do you have more to say about that, Manoj?
no, I just absolutely 100%. It's just very ironic, but yes, absolutely.
So, I think that that's such an effective, even an effective sales method. Like, you know, I wonder what would happen if people came to my show, like just putting that out there. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what happened if all you people on Facebook came to my show. What would that be like? Anybody have any thoughts? You know, like just to see what kind of happens from that, you know? I wonder what would happen if more people were interested in finances. How would that change the world? Anybody have any thoughts? Like, if you have a commercial like that, or like a Facebook ad, or a group prompt, or Instagram, it just shows it's something very interesting to latch onto. You know, there's a certain quality of innocence there that some people might avoid because it would make you feel like you might be perceived as naive or something like that. And like, are you actually really being naive, or are you actually being like a brilliant visionary by like stepping into that? I liked how you said, to Manoj, that place of wonder. That's like coming from the place of wonder. Now you're like Devin was saying, you're really disarming people because you're not selling them, you know, an insurance package. You're engaging with them about what could be possible. You know what I mean? What's possible here exactly? Or like, I wonder what you think about life insurance. Like, what are your thoughts about it? What comes up? What are the things that come through when you hear the word? Like, I wonder. I would like to know. Give me an idea of where you're at with these kind of things. What are some? Tell me a story. Tell me a story about what happened to you with life insurance or someone you know. Like, you know, so it's just like creating a chance for people to express themselves. I especially find in life insurance, like I've had a few different people try to sell me on life insurance, you know. Um, uh, Full disclosure, I have a life insurance plan. Manoj helped me to facilitate that. Best idea in the world. Fantastic. Took a lot to get me to get that insurance plan. It's practically had to have his whole team work on me to like have it happen. But the the kind of way that insurance salespeople go about and this wasn't necessarily true about Manoj because he's just been trying to shift the game since the beginning, but it's very information heavy. You know what I mean? It's very convince you heavy to the point where the person who's being sold on doesn't really have a chance to express any of the things that would make them interested in having a life insurance plan. It's more kind of like the only reason why you don't have an insurance plan is because you're not you don't realize how valuable it would be to you, you know? That's kind of like a lot of the marketing strategy, which automatically puts it in an expert kind of, you're the layman, I'm the expert kind of world. And there's only so much that can get transferred through that process. But if a life insurance person came up to me and said, so, like, just wonder what you think about life insurance. Yeah. Be like, well, I think it's a scam. I think it's blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I wonder where you got the idea that it's a scam. You know what I mean? Like, just teasing out all the negativity until it's like, okay, well, now that I've said everything I need to say, like, well, I wonder where we could go from now. Like, now that you said all those things, I wonder what we could create together. And it's like, well, fuck, now you disarm me. Like, because another maybe Manoj can speak on this, which I think something that was fascinating the last time we talked was how hardened people's beliefs are when it comes to the financial sector.
Huge. And I think that was a big breakthrough, Neil. Is it's not about finance itself, but it's about people's belief systems. And it's been developed over time, almost compounded through their parents and through generations, in essence, because, I mean, majority of us, right, we don't have any financial background, but we're getting the brunts of emotions of how it lives to day from our parents. And even when we're young and we don't know anything, and being naive, we're just being compounded with these emotions because of finance, right? And so that's like the true breakthrough and focus. And thank you, Neil, for really giving some clarity for me is now basically what I'm my whole aim and even being on here, right? And doing this kind of work is now my focus is breaking into those belief systems. And now through wonder, asking those questions to see where people are at, and then asking other wondrous questions on what if you shifted into a wonder of more of a positive scope, right? A positive future, right? Have you ever wondered about that?
Yeah, totally. That's so powerful. That's so incredibly powerful. As a possibility, I wonder what would happen if you thought positively about your money, your situation, your financial situation, right? It's like, and that kind of, like we're saying right here, that requires that closeness, that rapport, that desire to kind of not the financial system too seems incredibly impersonal. And I love talking about this because of how much I feel like it connects to coaching, how lots of people say they look at the arts or something like that, they see that as very cathartic, emotional kind of thing. You listen to music or you watch a movie or something that makes you feel good. So I could be considered to be in a feel good industry or something like that. Entertainment, right? But to me, having your finances together and understanding how they work and how they grow is extremely cathartic. It's actually so positive.
Ugh.
You know what I mean? But getting past the negative belief systems that many people have about that and making it a human experience, not making it because the finance, like I was saying, it can feel so alien. Money seems so alien. And then people don't recognize that they're putting so much emotion onto money. You know, they don't recognize that for whatever reason. And then that same thing I find in many people will be like, "Oh, I'll never be a successful musician." You know, is it true that they'll never be a successful musician? No, it's just that they have these feelings They even have feelings towards what being a successful musician would be. So when you wonder about what those feelings are, Layla.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Wonder dash full. Full. Wonderful. I write that all the time. Oh, that is so wonderful. You know? Um, and so cool because when you approach a conversation, a sales, I'm going to just call it a sales conversation. You guys, some people call it enrollment conversations. That's fine. I'm just going to call it a classic sales call. You know, when you're doing a sales conversation, you're trying to sell a service, money is like always what people are thinking about. They have such a hard time in general. Even the side of like, you could be afraid of people, and this chapter is telling us get over your fear of people. That's cool. If you're afraid of money, boy, have you got a lot to get over, because you're never won't matter if you just get to know someone if you're both sitting there afraid of people. So I'm sorry, of money. So this classic piece about leading with curiosity, or leading with confidence, you know, like leading the sales potentials. You actually have to start, I think, in here with that wonderment about like, am I afraid of money? Curiously, like I wonder what my call would be with someone if I wasn't afraid of money. You know, and I wonder how I can look at money where there is no fear in there. And then not only that, I wonder how I can support a potential client in also becoming fearless about money, you know? And that's when those conversations in the sales moment happen, when you get to that point where you've gotten to know the person and you've done all the questions and you've described the service and they've talked about what they want and where they see it going and their commitment, and you've done all this amazing work. You fucking gotta talk about money. And then once you get into that money conversation, it's like, I think some people really shy away from continuing that sense of wonderment. You know, don't stop. Don't be afraid in that moment. Be a curious leader still. Admit the faults in your own shit about money. Let them know that, yeah, you totally understand, because a long time ago, you too felt uncomfortable. Like, who is just born into this freaking capitalistic, insane society just perfectly comfortable with money? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even know if that exists. You know, you're a child. You have no idea what freaking, my kids are like, can you just put it on my card? They don't even know what cash looks like, you know? So like, I think it's key here to just bring that wonderment into that finance questions, make room in those sales conversations. Don't stop being curious and full of wonder. Be that fearless leader that once you get to that money piece, I mean, Manoj, I guess it might be different because it's a lot of it is money, you know, for you, if I understand. Yeah. But like, you know, once, like, so for this birth lady, it's like once we got through all these different possibilities and the clarity of like 3 weeks and a year and the clarity of like, yeah, I got a man too, think that I should be doing it differently, you know, that getting to know you piece, then it was like, let's talk about money. Dun, dun, dun. And like, it could be that. It could be like this shark waiting in the corner to like chomp at somebody in that conversation, whether it's me or my potential client, but to remain, to literally just breathe through my own crap, be curious and filled with wonder about how that money, you know, what will it represent? What will the exchange create for both of you? Where are you at in your service, honestly? And like,
how do you see yourself growing out of the experience, which needs that exchange of money? How, like, and revealing that and then reflecting that and being just as curious. So with this lady, that's what I, with all of my, that's where I'm at now personally in my growth. And I can admit my growth of like accepting, getting through my fears about talking about money and being able to just be like curious, like a simple question like, okay, if money is the only issue standing in the way here, which you can get to without even asking them, because you can talk about all the things standing in the way, you get down, okay, now everything's been solved. If money is the only thing left standing in the way, how can we make that wall go away? What's going on in your life that's making that uncomfortable? The answers will all of a sudden not only reveal so much more about your potential client, but it will actually continue what this chapter is talking about. It will continue connecting. You'll continue with the act of getting to know each other, and really intimately, because money's not something we just go and we don't just go to the guy at the mall and share what we think about the $20 we're spending, so to create room for that. And I think that in and of itself becomes ironically part of the service that you create. And heck yeah, value through heck yeah, Manoj, and then that lady was like, well, it's just, she says this hilarious fear that her husband had about what if I die, and the money and she's telling her husband, well, she's super healthy young woman, like they're talking about like the possibility of my death being, that's what they're talking about when it comes to like the fear that they had around giving me this money. And I'm like, well, why don't we split it into 4 payments? Then you're able to, maybe I won't die the first 3 months. Maybe I won't die the second. And then we're laughing because we're in that moment, we're debunking the myths, we're debunking the fear, we're creating room. I'm creating room for the fears to just kind of fall away. So super cool. My rant. Sorry guys, I get on a roll and then I just have to be like, that's enough.
Oh, Devin had to go. That's fantastic. Yes, and I absolutely agree. I really like how you said that, Layla, because it is so easy to be curious and connect and be familiar with someone all the way up until the money thing happens. And then there's these habituated patterns or, these fears or even this way of being like, oh, I should be a certain way when money is now talked about, that we couldn't have a joyous conversation about money and laugh and the money still be exchanged, like still be professional and still be like, this is hilarious that you have these fears, but how about let's do it? Like here's your invoice, like let's do it right now on the call, when we're sitting in this energy, like I wonder if that would be a good idea. How do you feel? Are you ready to do that? So there is that ease, and the ease really does come from you as a leader. If you don't feel if you feel panicky about it, it's not going to.
And paying attention to everything that you have been learning about someone, because if you feel like, for instance, with this woman, that her relationship with her husband and what her husband thinks from what you've been learning about her is actually integral to the exchange of finances, then not pushing, like that patience piece comes in again. Like encourage her, support her in taking all this clarity that you've given, reframe it, recrystallize it so it's a nice clear ball for her, and be like, go talk with your husband. We'll chat next week. You know, like you don't have to just, there's not one way to do it. That's what I mean. Using what you've learned about someone to make that exchange be fearless for them. Period.
Totally. You can be asking questions like, I wonder how we could create something for you to be able to, like, some talking points for you to be able to speak with your husband so that they feel comfortable, you feel comfortable, and there's absolute certainty that you're going to get out of this service what you desire, what your vision is speaking to. You know what I mean? Being able to, and not being like, oh well, you should just do it right now, and your husband will like, yeah, don't worry about him. Well, you know, he just doesn't understand how good of a thing this is for you, or something like that, right? Her like a thing that I found to be very, very true with sales, and I'm doing it even deeper. And this is also one thing I wanted to talk about too. I like so Nick and I are having this great conversation. Nick is my coach, just so you know, Manoj. I refer to him a lot. We were talking about the difference between enrollment and sales. I was like, because it's important to kind of know where the distinction is. And also kind of like at what level, because you can kind of get to a certain level of awareness where sales and enrollment are interchangeable words. But there's a kind of a lot of levels of awareness between that. And one of the major distinctions is that sales is when you exchange a product or service for money. That's the kind of the hard line truth about sales. But what enrollment is when you help someone understand their own vision and what their life path and where they're trying to go. And enrollment, and then the sales part is it now that you're enrolled and you fleshed out your vision, you know what you're looking for, where you're looking to go. I know what you're looking to go and what your vision is. And this is how my products or services align with your vision and what you've enrolled into. And the cleaner that is, where you're not trying to sell someone, because if it's in terms of just sales, you could sell you could sell anything to anyone, right? It's the whole like, I'm going to sell a fridge to an Eskimo. Like, how do you do that kind of thing, right? Like a deeper, more aware form of sales is figuring out what they need and then selling them what they need, you know? And then but on the deepest level, enrollment is knowing what they are trying to create in their lives, what their vision is for themselves, and then deeply involving themselves in that vision, securing them in it, you know, as if they're trying to get a PhD in their own vision. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. To the point of being like, after you've deeply enrolled them in their vision, because that's really the most powerful thing you can do as a service, going, you know what, actually none of the stuff I have to offer works with that vision, but I know someone who can help you, or if I find someone who does, I'll absolutely do it. Not being like, well, what I offer kind of might help you, maybe, like, you know, that's not the type of really clean, effective sales, where the sales and the enrollment, it's clean. And if the enrollment is clean and the sales are clean, chances are, you know, and you're clean about what your enrollment is and you're clean about what you have to sell, then that conversation about money is going to be easier. But like Layla brought up, which is very true, is that until you've gotten right about money for yourself, talking about money and who you are when you speak about money, then there's gonna be fucking hiccups there. And I know what that's like, 100%. I've been able to kind of like get to a place with most of my clients or would-be clients where I feel pretty easy about it now. And that has come from working with Nick in the sense of Nick saying, like, slow down and ask for permission at every single kind of like signpost. Like, we've got a few minutes left in this session. This comes from my natural feeling about this. Like, do you have time to talk about money? Like, and if they're like, yeah, actually, I'd love to talk about money. Okay, so, what's your vision for this whole thing? Like, how long do you want to be doing this for? Like, can we talk about that? Oh, I'd like to be doing this for this amount of time. Great. Do you have, can we talk about a budget? So that at every point along that path, the person is agreeing with it. And that they're actually in control of the sale because this is for them. This is not for you. Like, you know what I mean? So that at the end, you can be like, okay, great. So it sounds like 6 months, Manoj. Let's hear what you have to say about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't want to cut you off. I wanted to let you finish what you're saying. But I wanted to touch upon basically our first session yesterday, right? I knew coming in, we'd talk about money, or I was hoping we would, because I knew I was clear heading into a new year that I needed to put some new strategies in place. Because as much as I've achieved for 2024, I wanted to achieve more, right? And so to achieve more, I needed to have new strategies. Because if I do the same thing that I did last year, well, I'm going to get the same result, and I'm dissatisfied with that. So, and I again, as we discussed about facts, as I was reflecting on, when we shared time together and how, oh man, I had the boldness to ask for a wage increase at my old job. Like, that's crazy, right? You helped me with that. That's facts, right? And so it just kind of made sense. I wanted to spend some more time with you. You were coming through, and then you didn't, and I felt like, oh man, like, how do I get more of this guy? Like, how do I, And so as I was hopping on these sessions, right, Prosperous coaching sessions, Hummingbird Society, I was getting bits and pieces here. I was like, man, I'm getting like, this is kind of more of the community that I want to be involved with and to enroll others because of the value factor, the value. This is incredible value. Like, you're not like, I didn't spend any money here to be here or anything like that. It's incredible value, right? It just stems from so much from there. But anyways, and then you brought up the money thing, right? Just like you said, right? We have 10 minutes. Do you want to talk about money? I was like, absolutely. I'm thinking in my head, and you didn't even sell. you just provided value. That was it. And so I'm thinking, how do I get more? What do I need to do? Like, and I know enough to know that, hey, money is going to be involved. Like, how do I get? So I'm coming from a place that like, I want to give you money because I want more, and I want strategies in place to produce a better result for next year. And so that's why when you brought it up, I was like, absolutely, let's talk about it. And then I wanted to right away, when you asked me what can you do, and I was like, I bounced the question back to you, what is respectful to you, so I can have your undivided attention in our sessions. And so I wanted to respect that. And then as soon as you proposed to me what your price was, it was like, that's it, kind of thing. That's it. Honestly, because you're providing so much more, honestly. And so that's why I'm really excited. And so you didn't sell at all. You just provided value, and I was already ready to go to clinch and capture more of your undivided attention. Yeah. So
that's fantastic, man. I'm so thank you very much for highlighting that and kind of drawing a border around that, because that way of thinking and building that out and providing that value so that people who are valuable themselves connect to that value and see it and then enroll themselves in it and go like, this is fucking where I want to be. This is the type of people I want to be around. And I want to bring other people that I see have value into these sessions. then I see the value of spending time with Neil because of what he's creating and who he's surrounding himself with. Yeah, it's gold. And now I'm totally willing to pay a fee for that because it just makes sense. The sale has already happened in your mind because the process is clean. You know what I mean? The process is just, then that's what I spend my time doing, is trying to make the process as clean as possible. Like, this is what you're trying to roll yourself into. And like, we're lucky because we've already developed to that level of like rapport. We know each other. You've helped me too. You know what I mean? Like I was saying to you on the phone, like I go to the gym because of the work that you've done, you know? So then when you're like, I want to do this coaching stuff as well, I'm like, bro, you're 100% the man, right? Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. And yeah, and I hope that you trumpet that everywhere and let everybody know, because that will further legitimize, show you that you have a team that you're building, right? Like by showing the world that you have a team that you're surrounding yourself with, more people will want to be part of your team because they see the work that you're investing in yourself, and that you're not afraid to tell people, which is a really big thing, right? That you're willing to give out what you've invested in. You've invested in it, you've paid to invest in it, and you give it. Layla.
And can I just be that person that reflects back at you, both of you, and ties in to this chapter about getting to know someone? How long, so the people watching, how long have you guys gotten to know each other to get to this point where there's this sort of fluid, it seems like this sort of back and forth exchange of service? How long?
Like, well, we've known each other for years,
But in this way.
yeah, I think we hooked up in 2019, I think, because you were telling me about um your financial services and everything like that. And even then I had hardened views, which I talked to people on this about. Took his collective efforts of his team and his network to push me over the edge, and now I have like a 25% return rate on my stocks and stuff due to Minoj and his team. It's fucking up. So it's at 28% right now because of Trump, actually, because of the stock market blowing up because of the presidential shift.
So 5 years, 6
Yeah.
years.
And it was like there's overlapping things, you know what I mean? Like Minoj helped me with his services. Minoj makes a commission off of that. We've talked, and which I'm super happy that he does. Um, and then we've talked about life coaching. He's told me about his different meetings and summits that he's gone to, and revealed the gold that he had to say in those, which has been super cool because to know that and to have that personal connection, because then I can see, which I was talking to Layla about. I was like, I can't wait till Minoj comes to these meetings and we do this coaching, because he has so much wisdom and gold and experience, and helping him further connect those things together is just going to make him a fucking superpower. He's just going to be like a fucking rocket ship. So
So like even there, just as the little tie-in, the little linking all the little bits together, it's okay. Like I think people watching, they need to know that it's okay, that it can take 2 years, 5 years. Like to become fearless in it is to let go of the expectations that a process is going to be this. What are these classic words we use right now? Like quick and dirty, or like there's all these like fast terms that we use for.
accelerated. You're gonna have an accelerated.
Yeah.
We're gonna put you through an accelerator.
It's almost like reminds me of you could parallel it with that thing that the Europeans made up, the slow food movement. This is like the slow sales movement.
Mhm.
And just being okay with these relationships and the nature of these processes.
Oh, totally. And I look at it like, say a person like Manoj or a person like Devin, like yourself, Layla, 5 people like that in a room talking together is an immense amount of power in terms of experience and sales and conversation, energy, spirituality, you know what I mean, love, connection, networking, that and to have those 5 people, if those 5 people each even have one other person that they would bring, 10, even one of those, like now we're talking about 20, then like the impact can be astronomical and the quality, the standard of quality remains the same. And that to me is really what's important in my business. And I'd rather have 2 people that are amazingly exciting to work with and then ask them to refer people to just build, because that's, and even if that takes 5 years, the graph just goes like woof, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like all of a sudden you go from like, oh yeah, that's pretty valuable to holy shit, this thing is just like overflowing. The cup overfloweth. So I was really stoked to see Aiden on the call today. He has amazing things to say. Manoj, Layla, you know, Devin. I am so excited for Manoj to meet other members of Hummingbird Group. There's such amazing people. If you get a chance, Manoj, if you have time, I'd love to. I'll introduce you in the Hummingbird Society, and I'd love if you had conversations with some of the main people. I'll point them out. They'll have so much gold to give you, and then so much camaraderie to be able to be like, hey, you're connecting in this world. Let's support you as you transform people's lives financially. And then also as a coach too. Let's do it.
I would love that. Thank you. Super
Okay.
excited.
Hell yeah. Okay, I gotta go because we have another meeting. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Great session.
Thanks, Dale.
Cheers.